Welcome back to Post-Orthodoxy Discussions. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Mike. This is take 7, maybe. Technology.
We've had, we're not even going to talk about this, but I think we're going to get this one. It looks like everything's working.
And today is July 7th, 2022. It's a Thursday. And what's any news since the last time we podcasted it?
We had a big holiday, the 4th of July. I'm really glad all the fireworks are over. Mm-hmm. They're super loud.
Very loud.
But
you don't have to go to the fireworks. You can just get on our roof here in our neighborhood. The surrounding 2 miles are just people in the neighborhood.
It's fun, but it gets old after a while. But anyways, all the family came over for the holiday.
Sister
My
and
sister, the boys, and
I wasn't feeling too well.
Some other friends. I think it's because we went paddleboarding the day before.
Might have been something related to that.
A lot of sun, maybe.
It was a good Sunday.
It was really fun. We had a good time, except you broke your paddleboard. Brand new paddleboard.
First time out, I put it in the water too shallow. I step on the fin brakes. But
it was on rocks.
Yeah.
There were rocks, and you kind of jumped on it.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
But I come home from work this morning because I work really crappy hours. Like I have to get up at 2 or 3 in the morning, and somebody had ordered a brand new fin for my paddleboard on Amazon. How
so
sweet and thoughtful, Carrie.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah, because I want to go paddleboarding again.
Yeah,
it was a lot
let's
of fun.
go.
So, anyways, on to news and Mormonism this week.
Well, I had some other news.
Oh, that's right. Let's talk about your other news.
Yeah, it's sort of nice. So I made a contact from TikTok because when we started these podcasts, I also started TikToking and been sharing them on TikTok and met somebody through TikTok. And long story short, from that connection, I made contact with the supervisor at Flourish Therapy Inc. They're in Utah. They're subsidized therapy for the LGBTQ community, and had an interview. And that's where I'm going to do my internship for my master's program.
I'm so happy for you.
I'm excited because it's been sort of a long, not much exciting in my life with my job,
career change and stuff.
And
I think you really needed this shot on the arm. Kind of to see that, because right now you're kind of trudging through
online
mud a little bit, and I think you needed a shot in the arm to show you where you're headed.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that.
Good. It's kind of right where you wanted to be, so I'm excited for you too.
Yeah.
Good job.
So that's our news. What else is new?
So news and Mormon news.
Yeah.
Like what's going on in the Mormon world.
What is going on in the Mormon world?
So there's a kind of a cringy video going around that a lot of people are commenting on, so guess what?
What?
We're going to comment on it too.
Yeah, so I've got it up here. We've got a stake presidency member. I found this on the Mormon Stories podcast Facebook page. Mormon Church is now teaching that missionary service is now mandatory for young men and not a choice. An excerpt from an LDS state conference held in Davis County.
I disagree with that headline, like, are now teaching. Haven't they always taught that? Did you always feel that way?
Well, yeah, they're just, to articulate it sounds pretty cringy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in this video, we're not going to play the video, but in this video he said...
It's a stake presidency member at state conference.
Right. He said...
Him and his daughter and their friends were at college talking about his missionary work service a choice for young men.
But he said something at the very beginning, like you don't have a choice.
Yeah, he says, let me tell you why it's not. Let me tell you why it's not.
Yeah, he's like, is missionary work a choice? Let me tell you why it's not. Uh-huh. And he went on to pretty much say that because you were baptized, it's a commandment that the prophets have been given from the Lord, and no, you don't have a choice. Anyways, did you feel that way going on a mission? That it was...
Not as... I don't know that I felt it as strong.
Mm-hmm.
But, no, I felt more that it was an option, I think.
But did you think that if you didn't go... Would you still have thought
in 1996 and 97?
Because I looked at, because I know I'm 2 years older than you, but
2.5.
Give me a break.
2.5.
We grew up in the same
right
time.
Now it's
but
2.5.
I looked at guys who didn't serve missions as being less than.
Oh yeah, I probably wouldn't have been.
So that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have been as. Would you have married a non-return missionary in 1999 when we met?
I don't know, honestly. I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you would have.
depended on how cute he was.
Well, I think she would have married me then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really would have. But you said you wanted to marry a return missionary too.
I don't think it was a requirement.
No, but you said that. Well, now we're going to have a disagreement because that's something you told me.
Really?
You said that after your mission, you decided you wanted to marry a return missionary.
Oh.
Maybe you were just saying that to get me to go out with
She
him.
was a return missionary. Well, so we were in the same singles ward, and we didn't plan on telling this story, but that's what podcasters do, I guess,
Right.
tell stories, right? So I grew up in the ward. I've heard other people say this is like, the girls that grew up in the ward with me were more like, I saw them like more sister-esque, as like I wouldn't date them when we got dateable age. Mm-hmm. And so when I got home from my mission, I started going to this singles ward around Boise State University where we grew up, where we lived. There were 120 Relief Society members and 60 in the Elders Quorum.
Yikes.
Do you remember that ward at all? It was just like
I wasn't in it for very long, but yeah.
And I'm in the Elders
and I didn't
Quorum.
like it very. It was a difficult word to be in because it was so big.
Yeah, I'm in the Elders Quorum presidency, and so I knew everybody's shit. Mm-hmm. And I just made a rule. I was like, I am not going to date anybody from this ward.
There was a lot of drama in that word.
I just said that.
It.
I just
Yeah.
remember. I was like, I'm not. I didn't. I just remember making that rule.
And when we met, like you had a big old chip on your shoulder, and you told me that, I was just like, who is this weirdo? Like,
Guess who moved a few weeks after we met?
it wasn't because of him, but guess who helped me move? Guess who was in line
I was fulfilling my priesthood duty.
moving all my boxes out of the ward so we could. And then guess who got married 6 months later? So we're so Mormon.
We're so Mormon. I did a TikTok. We're so Mormon.
Yeah.
We met. I got home from my mission, met and married in less than a year.
Right.
Yeah. So how did we get on that topic? I don't know. But we were talking about missionaries. So why was this not a surprise to you? You want to tell everybody what you wrote? Didn't you write a letter about this?
So
2
I
years
wrote
ago?
a letter a few years ago to, there's a podcast called Not So Molly Mormon, super funny. I just needed, a few years ago, I had been in a really deep, why I don't believe in Mormonism place, and I just needed some laughter, and so I started following this account called Not So Molly Mormon.
And so this is 2020.
It's on there, but
The year that Carrie told me that she left, that she was done at the church, and in that summer, you wrote them a letter,
yes.
and
And I'm pulling it up right now.
I'll pull it up for
Okay.
you. So why did you write them, and what do you remember?
So
about
I
it?
wrote them a letter just because they would read listener mail, and so I wrote them a letter about missionary. I had always had a problem with boys kind of being forced or thinking they were forced into going on missions, kind of like, it's a choice, not a choice kind of thing. And I had a real problem with that. So I wrote this letter, and it did get read on their podcast.
Yeah.
And we are looking for the letter right now. We can edit this out too, right?
I'm not that good.
What?
I'm not that good. I'm not that good.
Anyways.
So keep talking.
So in this letter, I just described my missionary experience and also a quote from some prophets that, further back than these recent guys. So this rhetoric has been going on for a long time. And obviously we felt that way growing up. So can I see this? I can probably find it. Why don't you talk for a little bit?
Yeah. So this stake presidency member, he says that, let me tell you why it's not a choice to not go on a mission, and it reminded me of what David Bednar has recently said, and he said, in that, I think he was speaking to some members of the church in South or Central America, that he gives this definition of agency, and he says, he basically said that if you believe that you have the choice to not choose the commandments, you don't understand agency. And I'm like, wait a second. Let me pull out my seminary teaching scriptures, right? They've been rebound, right? These things are, everybody else has a copy just as used as mine. So Lehi in 2 Nephi chapter 2 says, we are free to choose liberty or eternal life through the great mediator of all men. That's like a gift that's a core doctrine, that agency is a gift from Jesus Christ. We have this apostle telling us that that's not how it was. And what did you call that, Carrie, when Elder Bednar said it that way?
I don't remember. Sorry.
We call it gaslighting.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't think I'm going to find this letter, but I'll tell you what was in it. So basically, I recap my mission story, which I have talked about on here before. Like, my dad died. I was told the brethren expected me to stay on my mission. And pretty much that was, have we talked about Plot Stopping Police Agent?
Nope.
I forget where we're at, but where are we at?
You're talking about the Elder Bednar. You're talking about the letter you wrote to the Not Small.
Oh, and why it reminded me of that. So yeah, just the fact that with boys especially are made to feel like they can't make a choice. So should I just read this letter?
I think parts of it. So we have two children, 2 sons. I don't know if you're going to read the whole thing.
Okay, I said, I served a full-time mission. My father died of a sudden heart attack while I was serving. When my mission president told me the news, he said, the brethren advised you to stay. That was it. No compassion, no option. If I chose to go home, it was not right, and I had to pay for it. So right there, that's kind of the same thing. Like, if you choose not to go on a mission, it's not right.
And you actually have your own podcast episode about this on your podcast.
I do.
Holy Sisters podcast.
Yes, I do.
Probably like number 2 or 3 where you talk about it.
Yeah. And so I stayed and didn't go home for the funeral. It has affected me ever since then. I wasn't able to grieve, and that was not right. I told myself all kinds of things to make this situation better. And I have all of this documented pretty well in my mission journal, and we were actually reading it the other night, and there's some pretty shocking stuff in there. So I think we should read some of those journal excerpts later on, maybe when they fit into on our podcast. I tried to make myself feel special because I had sacrificed so much work for the church, and I did that because my mission president told me this is going to mean so much in your life that you sacrifice so much for the church. So I kind of spent 20 years trying to make that a reality, right? And whenever I told people that this happened to me, that I didn't go home for a parent's funeral but chose to stay on a mission, it was clear they felt uncomfortable, and so did I. There was no way to make it seem right. I was angry away from friends and family, scared and grieving, but the Lord is asking me to sacrifice all of this for his work. What kind of loving God would do that? But the church requires sacrifice, and that's what we do. And so, and I think it's interesting to note that those people that felt uncomfortable with me telling them about the sacrifice were like non-member people that I knew. All the members thought it was great. For 20 years, every member, including Mike, and I'm not putting him down by saying that, and including me too, like thought it was kind of a cool thing. And I got asked to give firesides and all sorts of stuff because this missionary sacrifice culture is so embedded in Mormonism that is just who Mormons are. It's a huge part of Mormon culture, Mormon doctrine. Actually, they call it doctrine. So,
well, the main gist of this stake presidency members talk is that, let me tell you why it's not a choice. And he says, when you were baptized at 8, you covenanted to serve mission. And back in 2020, you found another article that said the same thing. That when young men receive the priesthood at age 12. So this is an
article by Monson, right?
No, it's just why is there so much pressure on young men to go on a mission?
Monson's quoted in it.
Isn't it a personal decision? And so they quote, every worthy, able young men should prepare to serve a mission. Missionary service is a priesthood duty, an obligation the Lord expects of us. So wait,
let me start this out. I got to read. Okay, so it says the personal decision each young man must make is whether or not he will fulfill his priesthood duty. So right there, if you're choosing no, you're not fulfilling a duty. Okay, I mean I don't think that's a choice at all.
So we're reading from a church article.
So yeah, every worthy, able young man should prepare to serve a mission, missionary service, priesthood duty. Preparing for mission is part of a young man's Aaronic priesthood experience. It is his duty, and he should feel the appropriate weight of that duty. Of course, he should not serve a mission simply because it is expected or because he feels pressure. He should serve because he desires to share the restored gospel of Christ with others. But as he prays about serving a mission, he should also remember that by receiving the priesthood, he has already accepted the sacred responsibility to serve a mission. So, there you go. And that I don't know when that was.
So if somebody's listening to this, either they're a young man preparing to serve a mission, or more likely a parent of a young man preparing to serve a mission, what's your advice to them from your experience as a missionary and as a mother of 2
Right.
potential missionaries
Yes.
that our sons did not serve missions.
So my advice would be to remember that these young men, they're young men, but they're adults. Okay? These are adults that, because you've taught them well, are now capable, and they have the right to make these choices in their life. And it should really be a what do you want, not what does the church want, or didn't you hear that talk in church? It should really be a what do you want, and how do you feel about what's best for your life. And I'm not saying that missions are wrong for everybody either. I had good experiences on my mission. I learned a language. You learned a language.
Talk. That's Polish for let. Yes, I need to translate for y'all.
Anyway, so I don't know, what did I answer your question?
Yeah. So I think that leads to what you wanted to talk about today. Is there any thought stopping? So you have found some thought stoppers that you wanted to talk about.
So I think that saying missionaries, that pretty much the choice has already been made for them. That's thought stopping. That's stopping the thoughts. And so
what are thought stoppers?
So thought stopping cliches. Okay, so let's first talk about what cliches are. Cliches are phrases that you hear over and over and over again. So you just and you can just like spit them out, right? And Mormons have a lot of cliches in Mormonism. And then thought stopping cliches are phrases that stop you from thinking. They're phrases that can be pulled out, and you will hear them all the time now if you're still going to church, that are pulled out in lessons, in talks, and they're just ways to stop your critical thinking.
And that's a big thing. That's probably a major value of yours, is to have to think critically,
right,
and to trust your holy self.
Right. And we've talked about this. You used a lot of these teaching seminary.
Let's go. I don't know. Let's look.
Right? Okay. So the first one is the gospel is perfect, but the church members are not.
So quit thinking that whatever you have a problem with, it's not a problem because it's just the members doing whatever you have a problem with. It's not the church that caused the problem.
So I got a lot of that when I first started talking about my mission experience in a negative way. People would say mission presidents aren't perfect. The gospel's perfect, but mission presidents aren't.
But wait, wasn't your mission president quoting the brethren?
That's what he said.
The brethren expect you to stay on your mission.
The brethren expect me to stay. So, but there's like, oh, he's just rogue, and not everybody's like that. And anyways.
But yeah, so the gospel's perfect, the church members not. It's sort of similar to saying, well, it's the culture, not the doctrine.
Right.
That's just church culture.
And that just throws individuals under the bus, right? And saying, you're getting it wrong. Dude, you're getting it wrong. That's not how it is. And
well, I just want to say to that, so where does the culture come from?
Right. And so where do members get these ideas that are supported so much that it's just rampant in the community? And why aren't their thoughts and stuff ever, or not their thoughts, but why aren't the things they say that are hurtful ever called out? Or the hurtful practices and things like that. Why aren't they ever called out? So
people will make comments on TikTok about how the church is different in Utah. And I like to point out that we live in southwest Idaho, and the Utah border really ends at the Oregon border, especially for southern Idaho. We are still, there's, at the high schools I taught at, there were anywhere between 15 to 30% of the student body were seminary student attendees.
We're very Mormon here.
Yeah. And so when you have these teachings, and they're a large group of concentrated people trying to follow those teachings, it creates, it's the teachings. I'm convinced that there's power in questions. And every year, there's this beautiful thing about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. At Christmas time, every family in the ward gets to have an appointment with their priesthood leader.
Are you being silly right now?
With their bishop, even. The whole family is invited to attend. And the entire purpose of this Christmas time event, annual interview with the bishop, is to ask them, did you pay your money this year?
What?
My point is,
What's your point?
is that of all the questions that the church handbook of instruction could tell the bishop, you need to ask every family, every ward this year at Christmas time.
Yeah.
It's about money.
Right.
It could be.
And that's not members being
No, it's a tithing settlement.
Going back to this question.
Well, no, it's called
Right.
about tithing settlement. The gospel is perfect, but the church. Oh, sorry, I'm off your topic.
You are off my topic. I was trying to bring you back.
Okay, but my point is this: it goes in.
Next question.
You're going to cut off my whole story. Done.
I just think we need to keep on topic.
All right.
Okay. So, doubt your doubts before you doubt your faith.
Okay, that's a thought stopper.
Did you ever use that one?
I don't think so, but
Okay.
in 2020 the church really changed. I think I don't know
Did you say 12? Okay.
Yeah, 2012.
And
right before
what happened in 2012?
I don't know.
To make it, okay.
I don't know.
Because it is a
the
huge
gospel
change the more
topic
you
essays
talk.
came out. They changed. I need to look up what year. Somebody can look it up for us, or you can. The church seminary changed scripture mastery from scripture mastery to doctrinal mastery, and it included these, what's called acquiring spiritual knowledge, ASK, how to answer tough questions, and the tools that we gave our students to answer tough questions in life. When I implemented them, they didn't work, and I quickly realized that these were tools that are put together by people that I don't think ever really had the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't work for me, and so I didn't doubt my doubts. I didn't have a way to answer them. I doubt your doubts instead of doubt your faith. The doubts I had, because they didn't come from external sources. The doubts I had came from the gospel topic essays, the church produced stuff, and I think we've mentioned.
Right, and we were talking about this morning. Remember when you were like asking me about my mission experience?
Well, people in my lives,
Yeah.
TikTok lives, would ask me,
Right.
why did Carrie eventually tell you she was done
And
with the
like
church?
all of my doubts and stuff kind of came from personal experiences that had happened to me, like my mission experiences of my childhood, and I just had all this stuff going on in my head, and then things my kids were going through, and just real life experiences were making me doubt the church. And really that was my major shelf. I went to the gospel topic essays for help with that shelf because I felt it failing. Okay. And once I read the gospel topic essays, I was like, oh, I don't even want to hold this shelf up anymore.
Yeah.
So that's kind of in a nutshell of what happened with me.
So what's your next thought stopper?
So, next one is, I've had too many spiritual experiences to ever deny the gospel. I've heard a lot of people actually, this is a lot of people's like heartfelt concern, like on our social media and stuff. They'll say, what do I do with all these spiritual experiences? Or what do you do with all the spiritual experiences you've had? So what do you do with all the spiritual experiences?
I go out to lunch with former colleagues occasionally, and one of them asked me this question. He's like, so and my answer to that is that the experiences I've come to find out weren't based on, the experience I had were based on what I call legacy Joseph, and I've talked about them in other places. They were based on a foundation that I since realized isn't a sure foundation anymore. And so when I pulled out, legacy Joseph,
So what you were having feelings about got
it all crumbled down.
Okay.
So the basis of those the experiences that those, the foundation that those experiences were based upon.
Right.
Once I pulled them out and realized that they weren't meeting my values, that the church wasn't meeting my values, then those experiences lost their validity.
right. Well, and I also want to talk a little bit about just these spiritual experiences in general.
Yeah.
Like with most people, we talk about the feelings of the spirit, and the warm, fuzzy feeling that you get when you feel the spirit. Even as missionaries, we were always taught to identify the spirit, right? And you're supposed to make sure people knew what that was. And when I did a little bit of study into elevation emotion, It's a real thing that happens. It's a chemical process that happens within your body, kind of when you're in a group sharing, or not even in a group, but when you're seeing something, you're hearing something, and it's a chemical reaction in your body that causes these feelings. It's not people are saying like what about all the times you felt the Holy Ghost? Well, it's like, well, if you look back on it, it was just elevation emotion that you're feeling. It's just feelings. It's not the Holy Ghost.
Well, they're shared life experiences that everyone else has as a parent. A lot of them are centered on, or whatever it might be, and the church has given it the label that's the Spirit.
Right.
That it feels good.
Because if you don't mind me, tell me if you don't want me to talk about this, but the reason you said when you knew the church was true, your sisters were singing in church.
Oh yeah,
That's a classic example of elevation emotion.
One of my foundational testimony experiences was simply listening to my two sisters singing a song in a sacrament meeting and feeling.
And you have always
quote,
been really touched by music. Like whenever beautiful music comes on, like he closes his eyes, like he really gets zen and gets into it, and that's
what that experience was.
Emotion, right? But it can be like
experience with
if
music.
we're at Wicked, I
had the same emotional experience at Wicked, listening to that musical.
Right.
At Hamilton, my son and I got to go watch Hamilton live. Wicked's come here to Boise. I saw Hamilton on Broadway. That was just it was the same emotional experience I had while listening to my sisters sing.
So it's not denying that anyone actually had these experiences, but if you relabel them in a way that makes a little more sense and doesn't seem so, I don't know,
woo.
Does seem so woo, makes a little more sense and explains also why you have these emotions in other places. I kind of have the same emotions when I watch really funny comedy. Like when I watch The Office, like an Office episode I love, and I honestly do. I get excited and I feel warm because it's familiar and I know it's going to bring me joy, but it's not, I don't think The Office is ordained of God, so.
No, I don't think it is
or
either.
ordained of Mormon God at least. Okay.
All right, so what's your next thought
one.
stopper?
Even the very elect will be deceived.
Quit stopping. That's us.
Quit stopping.
Quit your thoughts. We were the elect. We've been deceived. Don't listen to us. Move on. We can just skip to the next one.
I wonder how many people actually said that. We're like, well,
the Fullers.
Did you hear the Fullers left? But did you know even the elect shall be deceived?
I would love to know if that's been said about us.
I know, but probably has. But
so the very elect shall be deceived. Therefore, ignore everything. Don't even quit watching our podcast and move on.
Ignore that they're great people with great ideas that you trusted for your whole entire life, because now they're deceived.
Well, I would get on Facebook and I'd see a post by an apostle and I'd be in a snarky mood and I'd say like, that's not my experience, Elder Holland, or or what, and the algorithms.
I know.
People that follow me on Facebook, my Facebook friends, that pops up and they see it. And I wasn't thinking at the time. And so I had this former seminary student message me and was like, Brother Fuller, I think it might have been deleted. I can't find it, but the student was like, I understand you're going through something, but all your former students read these things. You need to be respectful and respect. And my response is, because I'm not confrontational still, right? Is like, this is my experience. First of all, I don't have any social media friends that are minors, so all the students you're talking about are adults, so they can make their decisions. And secondly, if you're wondering why this has happened, get curious. We have still the same core values.
Right.
Carrie's still just as kind now as she always has been in every calling, in every ward, in every interaction. She's able to be more compassionate. The experiences I had as a seminary teacher was trying to be compassionate within that system. And so those things about Mormonism that were positive about us, we've been able to actually live them more fully and be more kind and be more compassionate to other people. So even the very elect will be deceived. I don't know, are we pompous to think we were elect?
I think that's the thought-stopping cliche that gets used when anyone leaves, right? Yeah. At least they call us elect and not some derogatory term. Okay, the Lord allows us to be tried and tested.
Stop thinking. What type of thoughts does that stop?
So I think, like, people that have the question, like, why would a kind God allow, 20 students to get shot in a school? Like, those are real questions. And you saying everything is a trial and a test is I don't know.
Well, the problem with that is it takes it the next step. And instead of experience, I've seen TikToks about this. There's like, instead of taking this experience I had that's just shitty, calling it a trial requires me to then say, well, what should I learn from this?
Right.
How can I be better from this? Instead of just allowing us to experience.
Well, it takes away compassion.
Yeah,
It
because
takes away compassion of sitting there with someone and letting them feel crappy.
and that's what mourn with those that mourn. So I love the teachings of Jesus. I'm just not a big fan of the doctrine of Jesus. I love the idea of mourning with those that mourn. But I don't like the idea that without his help, I'm a piece of shit.
That he allows us to be tested and tried.
Yeah, that he allows. I don't
That
want
he's the one doing that. It's
I don't
like,
want to
who
have a
wants that?
deity that allows these.
Who
happen.
wants a big brother that
only intervenes when it's a prophet being
that
told to?
Oh yeah, that never intervenes unless
It's
unless someone doesn't want to go on a mission.
And doesn't intervene unless it's a 37-year-old man trying to convince a teenager to marry him.
Yeah, and telling him to do it.
With a flaming sword.
Oh, let's not even go there. Okay.
So what's the next thought stopper?
Oh, prophets aren't perfect.
Stop thinking.
So I've heard this a lot when you start talking to people about like the problems you have with like homophobic things prophets have said, or
Well,
even
we
like
got
the Joseph Smith stuff.
Polygamy.
Yeah.
Some people say that blacks in the priesthood.
Prophets aren't perfect. It's like that's a pretty huge thing for a prophet of God not to be perfect on. These aren't little things like, oops, I used the wrong adjective to describe that. I mean, these are like things that affected people's lives and shaped values. And I take
a values-based approach to life now instead of a shoulds or a doctrinal or commandment-based approach.
Right.
And those I still carry many of the values from Mormonism. For example, the ones we find in Article of Faith 13. We believe in being honest, true, chaste, benevolent, virtuous, doing good to all men, to seek after things that are virtuous, lovely, praiseworthy, and good report. And as I looked at the history I wasn't familiar with, and my argument isn't that it was hid from me. I don't actually blame an organization from not sharing these histories and the stuff in the gospel topic essays. My response is yeah, they might not. I don't think it's a high standard to try to ask the things to meet those values. So I say let's take.
I'm not asking him to be perfect. I'm just kind of asking him to be good and make good decisions
and these issues.
Say you're sorry
when it comes to polygamy, blacks in the priesthood, and the treatment of the queer LGBTQ plus community. It's like doesn't meet a minimum standard of mourning with those. So
what would be a better thing to say instead of like what would encourage that not being a thought stopper?
That this is just a one of many thousands of church on the planet that fulfill the roles of creating community and answering life's questions, and and the prophets in this church are trying to create community and answer life questions.
Okay.
And I think because the person that started this church, Joseph Smith, put in this whole polygamy thing, that everything has to go through that lens, and it's really been
difficult.
Yeah. So prophets aren't perfect.
Prophets aren't perfect. All right. You can leave the church, but you can't leave it alone.
That's my response to that.
We can't.
Nope. Yeah.
Give us 20 years.
Give us 43.
Yeah.
Give me 43 years.
Okay.
It's like
then we'll stop.
Back at you. We can leave the church, but you can't leave us alone.
Yeah.
Or it's just we're just sharing our life experience. I mean,
yeah. We have a lot to talk about. I think we have a unique perspective.
But that is just a phrase that tells people that are in the church, oh, ignore them.
Yeah.
Just ignore them.
Yeah.
And ignore us. we're not here to complain about the
Yeah, I know.
church. We're not here to convince people. We're saying, hey, we've had an experience, and we think sharing that experience might help others as they process through
Because it really helped us. It really, really helped us to find people that maybe thought a little bit differently. And we're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, for sure.
Well, some people,
so-
hopefully some people that watch us don't even drink tea.
I don't drink tea. But
You drink coffee.
yeah. I don't know.
Can't
It's so
stand-
weird that he doesn't like.
I
But
can't
see,
stand
I've
coffee.
always liked the flavor of coffee. Like I used to like
Smell
get
of it, the
coffee
flavor.
Yeah, I'd go down the coffee aisle, just smell it, breathe it in.
Occasionally, I
and
like the smell of
coffee flavored ice cream is like amazing.
it. Yeah, I bought you your coffee. I made a TikTok of this. I bought your coffee maker for you
So sweet.
for Christmas while I was a full-time seminary teacher.
I know, you're so
Sinner.
so sweet and rebellious at the
Yeah.
same time. So that's the end of the list we had of the thought stopping cliches. So can you think of any more that
No.
maybe missed? I thought it was a really good list.
No, I like that. I think that for someone that the people that reach out to us are people that are in this space. I think it just in general is that I don't think that people can make decisions about their religious standing a day earlier than they can. They are in a place to do that.
Yeah.
You know, whether someone's messaging me that's 53.
Right.
I've got people messaging, talking to me that are. We made a new friend who was here visiting with us.
And like we have
In our home
one of our
office.
kids just kind of never liked it.
No.
And like that's how my sister was too, that I do the podcast with. She's just like, I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
It was so for some people it's pretty simple. It's not such a big dramatic thing, but for people that invested a lot of time, it's going to be more difficult. So people are going to have different experiences with all that.
Yeah, for me, it's been brutal.
And not everybody has worked for the church and like dedicated their life in that way to the church. So it's different experiences. So I don't know, but that last one that you can't leave it alone, I don't think people can say that because that's really taking charge of someone else's experience and telling them how
there
they
is
experience
zero compassion in that.
Right.
That is the opposite of mourning with those that mourn.
Right.
And there are some beautiful people on TikTok that are members of the church that are out there saying, man, they're honoring
There is
the
something you
experience we
said
have."
to a friend of yours that had listened to my podcast.
Well, first of all, I told him not to.
Yeah. And he was just saying that, I don't know, kind of that
Well, your other
it was
pod-
too negative and all this stuff. And you told him to
said-
listen to the pain.
Yeah, I said, I don't think he heard the experiences that you were sharing.
Right.
And he didn't. I said, I was asking, I said, do you remember what experience she shared from a mission that made her? No. Do you remember what experience she shared from her childhood that was in that episode? No. Mm-hmm. And I think that is just, there's just beauty in the gospel of Jesus, the teachings of Jesus. There's beauty in the concept of mourning with those that mourn.
Right.
And we've had that throughout our whole marriage together is just the idea of trying to do that, of people just learning that their best thing to say when you don't know what to say is, I don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm. Or just acknowledge if the other person is in pain, it doesn't matter what they're in pain about. Just acknowledge that you see the pain.
Yeah.
Like, I really see that this is hurting you. Like, tell me more about it. Instead of trying to convince them that they shouldn't feel the pain. I had just for an example, when I was going through my deconstruction, somebody asked me, like, what's something you're having, like, struggling with? And I said, well, this experience on my mission, I realized that was really wrong. And this person said to me that they had 2 kids out on missions at that time.
And they get defensive.
Yeah, I could feel the defensive coming up, but I was I think I might have been crying at this time, and they said to me, if my children's father died, there are 2 kids out on mission, if my husband died, I would hope my kids would stay. That was their response to me. And as I look back on that, I mean, I'm not angry or anything, because it's such a weird thing to try and talk about these sensitive topics with each other. But how much better would it have been to have shown compassion to me and seeing how much I was hurting, and instead of saying, well, the right thing to do would be to be happy about it.
Everything you just said, I'm just going to throw it away,
right,
and I'm just going to discount it. And so
right.
I really enjoy that.
So I think you just need to come at everything. If you come at everything with a compassionate lens, if you're disagreeing with someone, even if you feel a little bit on the defensive, it just helps a whole lot.
And I'd love to hear what your experiences are with any of these in the comments here. Like, follow, and share. Part of doing this, we know you're not with us here, is that we want to mourn with you. Mm-hmm. We have been there. We haven't really told all the. It's not been just giggles and whatever.
It isn't just great. Even though we are extremely happy,
we're in a good spot,
we really are. We went through some pretty dark places, but it wasn't because we were missing the gospel. It was just because it takes a toll on you to lose something you've lived your whole life.
Yeah.
So.
I've processed, on one hand, this extreme loss, just loss of community, all the loss that comes from losing your religion. It is not a fun thing to do. It's not something I chose or would want to impose on anybody. At the same time, though, as I made the conscious decision for a year, for an entire year, she told me in January she's done at the church. I had my job until the next January. I tried to make it work. And then the year after that, as soon as I quit my job, I made a decision. I'm going to distance myself from the church for a year. And it was a conscious experiment. And that 2021 was the best year of my life. Emotionally, I felt more often and more abundantly the joy that I had described to my students as the gifts of the Spirit. My mental health was better. My anxiety went away. My checkbook was shitty. My job was shitty. My relationships were in a place of redefining, and so nothing was aligned in that alignment. But so I had both these two experiences, and I had to just realized that life beyond belief is beyond belief. I've found, because life without manufactured shame has been just full of bliss. And people ask me, so what do you believe now? And it's like, I think I like the teachings of Jesus to love thy neighbor. I don't like the doctrine of Jesus that tell me I need him and I'm pathetic without him.
Yep.
That I need to make meaning out of everything. I can learn through life, but I don't have to make it I don't have to ask why God did these things or why Jesus did these things.
And I just believe in being kind.
Yeah.
Having things simplified has made me a much better person. And so I just, not that I was a bad person before.
And if you're curious what I believe today, my response also is ask me tomorrow. But I'm not in any hurry to be anywhere with any type of consistency.
Yep.
So anyways, thanks for listening to episode 3. We will try to be more consistent. If you have any suggestions of stuff you want us to talk about, please message us or comment here, and we'll catch you on the flippity flip.
Bye.